sometimes we're just wrong. And that's just a part of being human, you know? You're gonna be wrong about a few things. Personally, people who think Sonic 3D games aren't good or don't want to get into Kingdom Hearts because they think it's too convoluted, it's okay to be wrong. But I was wrong. And that's what I'm here to talk about. My mistake. 13 years later, I'm making amends. I'm making amends with this franchise. I'm making amends with this character. Granted, the franchise's name is also the name of the character. You may know this character. She's well received, well loved, was a DLC in the biggest crossover fighting game of all time, had their own anime movie. In fact, on October 28th, in 2 weeks from now, they're getting their third mainline game. If you haven't figured out what character I'm talking about this time, I got you. These films might help you out. And if it doesn't, now you know. I'm talking about Bayonetta. Now, Bayonetta is, a very unique character, and it's a very unique franchise. This franchise came out in 2009, and it was developed by Platinum Games, led by Hideki Kamiya, and published by Sega. This game kicks ass. You could see it right here. There's no explaining to it, or explaining it to me, because I finally played it. I shunned this game for a very long time, for all the wrong reasons. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing Bayonetta. I'm going to be talking about who Bayonetta is, what the game's about, the gameplay, the story, the music, and really why you should be playing this game and why you should be excited for Bayonetta 3. So who is Bayonetta? A question we all ponder. But in all reality, Bayonetta is, actually designed as a modern female witch and also as Kamiya's dream girl. Him and Mari Shimazaki, they actually took over 1 full year to design Bayonetta. It wasn't just about being a witch or having an action hack and slash game. The theme about it was sexiness and being fashionable while being a badass. And it's kind of funny because Kamiya stated that this game is completely original, but he got some inspiration looking over Scandinavian mythology and playing like half of Devil May Cry 4. I always thought that was kind of funny because when I originally didn't like Bayonetta, I was like, this game is a fake Devil May Cry. That's what I called it when I told my friends I didn't like Bayonetta. When I played it, a demo on the PS3, the worst possible version of it, I was like, this game stinks. It's just a wannabe Devil May Cry. Little did I know 2 things. 1, the PS3 version is the most broken and worst version of the game. And 2, Kamiya and his team, Little Angels, are all well known for developing the first Devil May Cry game. So yes, it's safe to say that I, my friend, was an idiot. But now that Bayonetta is owned by Nintendo, you know I'm a Nintendrone, so duh. No, Bayonetta is still owned by, still developed by Platinum Games, but is actually co-owned by Sega and by Nintendo. Since Nintendo funded the game for the second one, they were able to get like IP rights. I don't know the full intellectual property law behind it, but basically it's a shared property that has been absorbed mainly into Nintendo at this point. Enough talking about who Bayonetta is. We need to talk about kind of the introduction of the plot, because there are some weird things that Bayonetta 1 doesn't do correctly in portraying itself and its story. And that's not a bad thing, no knock on it, because let's kind of just talk about the whole introduction, and we're going to keep it spoiler free. I'm not going to go anything past chapter 1 talking about this. The game starts you off with a flashback and a bunch of mysterious cutscenes that you're clearly not meant to understand. It adds this sense of mystery and foreboding to the start of your game, and I'm fine, I love those kind of things. But while the narrator is spouting off about the past, I have always disliked the idea of a playable cutscene. And not the I'm walking in a small hallway in the game, I'm not really playing the game. No, you actually have full control of Bayonetta here, and you can basically learn how to play the game, see how it feels, test it out. And this is really cool and unique, but it's so unnecessary as you literally have to play the tutorial level once this cutscene ends. So everything you learned, you could have learned wrong, and it doesn't matter because you're about to learn it anyway. In addition, before you learn each new move, you're actually sent to a practice void arena, so you get a double tutorial before you even do anything. So why would they have this kind of introduction here where you're missing out on the plot? You could be listening, but you're not paying attention. And I think that's one of the things that kind of got me. It kept pulling me in and out. Ironically, the first cutscene of the game is not even after you do your file select. It's actually when you boot up your game. That very first cutscene that was playing behind me a little bit in the introduction here, that's actually the first cutscene. I didn't see that until after I beat the game, and I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. I hate when cutscenes are locked behind before the menu page. It just doesn't make sense to me. However, once this prologue is complete, we're introduced to our eponymous character, Bayonetta. Bayonetta here is a Umbra witch. However, she doesn't know anything about her past. We just know that she currently works for Rodin, or works with Rodin. He is what's the best way to say it? He's not only a blacksmith, but he's like the assassin guild master, you know, like where Bayonetta gets jobs, she goes to Rodin. In addition, there's a fake Danny DeVito here called Enzo, though he's the comedic relief that's not really in the game too much. After this, you only meet two other major characters in Chapter 1, Jean, the rival Umbra witch, I like to call her Jean again, and you will also meet my boy Yuri Lowenthal, who I'll let you guys learn about him later on. So now, the story and the rest of the game is going to take place in this fictional city in Europe. It's based on the Vatican, but they call it Vigrid. This is a holy land where the Lumen Sages and Umbra Witches were said to have coexisted 500 years ago. Now, we have to learn about Bayonetta, uncover her mysterious past, learn what happened in this city 500 years ago, and the connection she has to Jean, Vigrid, and the game's MacGuffin, the Eyes of the World. We're talking about the gameplay to lead off this video, and, well, the gameplay formula is a basic action hack-and-slash adventure game from its time. You go through linear levels that involve some light platforming, you fight various types of enemies with a difficulty ramp, or, well, the difficulty ramps as you get on later in the level, and of course, you chain combos together. Bayonetta attacks with 3 different buttons: a punch, a kick, and a rapid fire from her pistol. You can also combine your pistol with your punches or kicks by holding down whatever action you just completed, and then you will see a punch or a kick followed up by these pistols, well, rapidly shooting. It's odd to call them pistols when they fire more like machine guns, but that is just what they do. Bayonetta can chain the 2 main attack buttons into huge combos and do an assortment of special unique moves. Although this sounds similar to Devil May Cry, as she also has delayed and directional based attacks, what makes this game unique from other hack and slash adventure games is her wicked weave attacks and her dodges. When you perform certain combos, Bayonetta can finish with a giant fist or foot appearing out of a void to put that extra oomph in a combo finisher. I mean, what's more awesome than finishing a bad guy? Oh yeah, using your witch powers to summon a giant demon foot to stomp and kill an enemy. This game also is a bit more beginner friendly compared to that of DMC. I know I'm comparing it to Devil May Cry a lot, but again, as I said before, Kami and his team worked on the very first Devil May Cry, and maybe that was your first foray into this kind of adventure, but I think it's an apt comparison. So, in that game, where you were told dull or okay for spamming the same combo in that game, Bayonetta is a bit more open and inviting, where it expects the player to do the experimentation themselves with these movesets. There's some payoff for chaining together wicked weave combos, and it's huge. It creates this sense of curiosity. Like, what if I kicked after doing 4 punches in a row? What am I gonna see? Or if I did 3 punches, a kick, and then a punch, what possible special combo is Bayonetta gonna do? Another move I want to mention, though it's not really used much past the beginning, as this is kind of a dedicated shoot mode where the camera zooms up on Bayonetta as you do a spin while you kick or punch, but they added this into the game to make it feel like you're firing off thousands of shots hitting guns from enemies. Granted, it's a cool move, I used it a few times, but it only really works against the weakest enemy in the game. It doesn't do that much damage, and it's kind of just for show. Her dedicated dodge button is also what makes Bayonetta the game and herself special and unique. With dodge, you can obviously avoid incoming damage, but it's not about dodging the damage. You want to get better, and the better you get at dodging, well, you have to use her special Umbra Witch powers, and dodging right before an enemy hits you, you activate Witch Time. This is a special feature that slows down time for everyone around Bayonetta. While Witch Time is an amazing ability, it's absolutely broken in Super Smash Bros. Wii U. I mean, some enemies are impervious to Witch Time, and other times I found myself dodging projectiles and the enemy's too far away to really make use of Witch Time. It's this simplicity that makes this game so advanced at the same time. It just feels like you can discover more and more to do with Bayonetta as you keep progressing, and that's an amazing feeling. I love a game that's indirectly influencing you to learn more about it. That's how you know you truly like and enjoy something, because you want to get better at it and you want to experiment more and more to see what else you can do. Besides having so many combos that it would be a longer video if I was going to show you and talk to you about every single one, Bayonetta has more than just her pistols and limbs as her weapons. In fact, as you collect halos, which is the game's currency, and angelic hymn gold LPs, special CDs to make these weapons appear in the shop, Rodin, the game's blacksmith, and other things, which I'll go into, will offer you new fighting styles, or just an entire new style to fight angels with. You can get weapons from, let's say, a sword, new guns. You can even get ice skates. Ice skates as a weapon. And all these weapons, they feel just as good as base Bayonetta. Like, that's how you know the game is good. No matter what item, what fighting style I use for Bayonetta, everything feels smooth. Everything feels just wonderful to control. And you want to see what else she can do with all these unique weapons. Now, Bayonetta can only keep 2 sets of weapons active at all times. There is a quick change in the overworld, and while each weapon comes with their own attributes and combos as well, no one weapon feels the same. To be honest, I didn't even know half of these weapons existed until I watched some gameplay after I went through the game through both Bayonetta and, man, I was just jealous seeing some of these weapons. If you aren't a big fan of perma items, well, don't worry. Angels also drop their equipment items as well, which you can use against them in a very classic kind of arcade beat 'em up style. Let's say an angel drops a spear. You can pick it up and use it for a limited amount of time. In fact, there's spears, claws, and you can even use an angel's trumpet to kill a man. Or an angel. Whatever, you get what I'm talking about. Last but not least for Bayonetta and her amazing gameplay is her torture attacks. These are special high damage attacks or finishers you can use on enemies or mini bosses where you use action commands that prompt on the screen. I personally love these kind of things. I know a lot of people are hit or miss for action commands, but they mostly wake you up. They make sure you're not spamming the same thing all the time, and they keep you on your toes. They require you to spam a certain button on screen, but they do have some with stick rotations. But it's not on Mario Party's 1 level, so you don't have to worry about that. These though, the torture attacks, they might have been overused in some boss fights, and, well, I guess that's a bit lazy, but at the same time, again, it is keeping you on your toes, and instead of just using the same combos, dodging and spam dodging, etc. I did have a problem though with some of the runaway and witch time and jump ones, as they require you to be in specific spots, and I felt like the window was just a bit too tight for them. While I did mention the enemies though, angels, I did forget to mention this game has a lot of bosses, and don't worry, bosses aren't unique, because once you deal with them once, we'll get ready to see them in later levels as common enemy types, because this game reuses a lot of assets. But this is not a bad thing, and it's not in a bad way. Those epic moments when you finally beat that boss for the first time in level 2 or level 3, well, guess what? Now you gotta fight 4 or 5 of them later in the game simultaneously, because guess what? You've gotten better. You've learned and started to master the game and your Umbra Witch powers. And I've always loved this concept, because it shows not only how your character has improved, but how your skills have improved later on and throughout the game. I will say, none of the fights are that memorable though. The bosses, I really can't remember on the spot, but since you fight them later on as common enemies, it's nothing noteworthy like a Kingdom Hearts secret boss or even just regular bosses from there. Now, I did say the gameplay kicks ass, but my goodness, the music in this game is fantastic. I mean, seriously, if you have a chance, listen to this whole OST. My favorite track has got to be the battle theme, and that's really important for an action game, for a hack and slash, because you're doing a lot of battling. You're constantly in it, and you're going to hear it the most. That song, or well, the song I'm talking about, is The Mysterious Destiny. There's something about that track. It was just pumping. It pumped me up, and it had like this mysterious vibe to it. It's so good. It's putting a smile on my face just thinking about it. I would also say let's hit the climax for when you're pulling off that epic finisher on a boss is also a great one. But the soundtrack is so fun when it needs to be, and it also is really serious to fit the theme of Vigrid and all these other defining moments. Designed, I actually want to talk about as well. The designs in this game are amazing. I mean, yes, I think Mari Shimazaki is the lead designer, the game's character designer, and she said it took her over 1 full year for her and Kamiya to get the design of Bayonetta. I mean, funny thing is, Bayonetta is designed after Kamiya's dream girl, but the team and his favorite character in the game is actually Jean. So, kind of weird. You have your dream girl and then you go for the other one. I don't know, man. Bayonetta 1 design is so good. But yeah, this is another home run. Not only is her design fantastic, but so is Rodin. Just his presentation, the voice acting, the models of the game, like each character, the weapons. I mean, yeah, they are a bit dated as the game is nearly a decade old, but I do have to say it holds up really well. These talented voice actors, they brought these characters to life. And the weapon designs are really unique, you know? Like that Scarborough Fair, I hope I said that right, is such a sleek design. Like, you know Bayonetta's pistol when you see it. It's as famous as Dante's pistol because that's just good design work. Another thing I do really enjoy is that while I did mention I didn't like the cutscenes, I like that they have these film still cutscenes. So think of like a step up from a visual novel. Here, they have these kind of old school filter films, and it has like a 3D movement within each cutscene, but the characters aren't mouthing each word. They're just still voice acted, they're still talking, but they're essentially 3D stills. I thought that was really cool, really unique choice, and something I've never really seen done. While all that is amazing, I would say the enemies are a bit generic. Not to take away anything from their design, it just feels like a mix of I've seen it before, sameness, and most of these angels are based on the statues of saints, and they usually have these ugly baby faces. I guess that shows holiness and innocence, but they all have halos and marble-like skin with gold ivory armor, but it's just, however, like it's just very samey. I just couldn't get into it. The cool thing though is, as you damage the statue, you realize that these statues are just masks to hide these grotesque creatures that honestly look like demons. Maybe this is some type of way to show angels and demons are two sides of the same coin. It could be like some artistic design choice, but you know, and it depends on how we look at them. But I'm not so sure. I might be over convoluting it. Honestly, they remind me of the bad guys in Shadow the Hedgehog. I know that game stinks and it was a weird evil alien kind of things, but when you start to peel their statues, you guys can't tell me it doesn't look like Shadow the Hedgehog 2006. They look just like them. Before I talk about kind of my overall score and how I felt about it, there are so many things in Bayonetta I didn't even get to mention that, honestly, trying to cover everything in this game is gonna take like over an hour in a video, and it's kind of an old game at this point. Everybody should know what it's about, but really, I loved my time with Bayonetta. There are so many things that it did right, and it also did wrong. How much replayability Bayonetta has, how much discoverability Bayonetta has, which I think is one of the cooler things in Bayonetta. You know, I did say there's light platforming and you're going in these narrow hallways, but there's some sections where you've got a wall jump up, you're running up a clock tower, or running up a wall, and there's more than just going A to B. In fact, if you look past and beyond it, or you look around each corner, you might be able to find extra things. This is how you find the collectibles in the game. There was a lot to collect. There are blood tears, there are the journals, there's, of course, you need halos, there's the angelic LPs. I mean, And these are well hidden. Some of them are not just, oh man, they're right there, you know? Some of these are like, man, I gotta make this really tight jump, or what? Can I keep going in this direction? And boom, you find the secret, you find that. Now, yes, the enemies, they're reused assets. That doesn't really matter as much. What really does matter, though, is the post-game content, the chapter select, the insane difficulty for me to not get a stone statue for the last like 10 chapters. Stone rank is the worst rank in the game, and get ready to get a lot of those. Bayonetta 2 thankfully fixes this, and it's a lot easier to not get stone, but my goodness, in Bayonetta 1, I stunk it up, I gotta be honest. I mean, I'm not the greatest action hack guy. I'm not the greatest hack and slash guy. But look, I got my platinums in all my Kingdom Hearts. I do speedrunning, I do Kaizo hacks, but my goodness, freaking, this game was like, nah, you stink, man, stone statue. And that bothered me, okay? But that's what's good about this game. There's a lot of replayability. And it's really there's really a lot of accessibility. You can just go to chapter select. You can just choose what chapter you want to go on. And you can do chapter select at any time in the game. You don't have to wait. You can literally beat level 5 and you're like, you know what, I don't like my score in level 2. Boom, same file, you can go right to chapter 2, and it gives you every cutscene from there. Another thing I really did enjoy, I don't remember if I talked about it. Oh no, I definitely did. I was about to talk about the stills. But I didn't talk about the Nintendo skins. Of course, I played this on my Wii U and my Switch, but for those who are playing on Steam, which is the best version, again, to play Bayonetta, compared to the console version. So Steam has its own PC version, which is the best one, but all the consoles are just emulations, or just built from, not emulations, I'm sorry, just ports of the Xbox 360 version. The Nintendo ones have their own unique costumes. There's a Samus costume, a Link costume, and a Princess Daisy and Princess Peach. Now, I don't think the Link one gave anything different. Peach and Daisy, for sure, don't do anything different. But the Samus one's really cool because you get her power cannon and you actually fire power beams. I was going to say power pellets, but she's not Mega Man. And it's really cool. I mean, I love when games give you these kind of costumes that really change nothing, but they give an ode to the old game. Now, they look absolutely terrible. They look terrible. But I enjoy that. It's something I've always had fun, always enjoyed. So that's kind of it. For the game, I give it like an 8.5, 8.8. Of course, the game is a bit old, but that doesn't really deter the score. It's not a perfect 10, of course. There's a lot that was left desired for me. But the game's it's just so fun. It's just absolutely a blast to play. I could recommend this game to anybody, and I do. I always tell people now. I'm like, yo, you gotta Switch, you gotta play Bayonetta. Like, you got to. It's something that everybody could play, you know? You could look past the weird cutscenes, the nonsensical plot, and you could just have it's just a fun game. It's just a fun game to play. And I hope your experience with the game, past, replay, present, first time, is as good as the one I had, because I couldn't put it down. And really, I'm glad I gave this another shot. So I'm going to go back in the past, tell myself to stop drinking that haterade, and I happily admit I was wrong, and I'll see you guys for that Bayonetta 2 review, right? 3? So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe. Bayonetta 2 review will be out hopefully soon. I know I kind of delayed this forever, but yeah. Bayonetta 3, I think it's coming out next week, which was too damn quick for me because I was so damn lazy all month. Bayonetta, Sonic, Pokemon. Got our hands full. Peace, homies.
Right with my first all right, so my first foray with Bayonetta was actually okay. All right. So my first foray. My my first experience with Bayonetta